to improve conversions and generate more leads with the video podcast at marketingoptimization.tv. Hi, and welcome to Marketing Optimization with Alex Designs. I'm your host, Alex Harris, and today we're chatting with Robert from feedastarvingcrowd.com. How you doing, Robert?
Hey, great to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show. To get started, what's your definition of optimization and why is it beneficial?
Look, I feel that if you've optimized a site properly, that means that you can send paid traffic to the site reliably and you know what kind of result you're going to get. That's an optimized site.
There you go. I like it. Clear and concise. Now, you put together it's a book, a campaign, a membership site at feedastarvingcrowd.com. Why don't you give us a little bit of overview about what that is?
Yeah, look, the site is designed really to make sure that people get value even if they don't get my book. And so it's very content rich. I can send traffic to that site from any source and I know that it will convert very well. Even from paid traffic from Facebook ads, I'll get 42% opt-in rates for people to download the book for free. And so that's kind of my definition behind the site. And originally, when I first launched the book, I was selling it for $19 as the ebook and $29 for the paperback. And what I was finding was that about 2% would convert from that. And I thought, well, what if I flip it on its head and actually offer the book for free, and then on the thank you page, kind of push people into a consult.
Right.
And so because I do consulting and coaching for marketers, so that's worth a lot more to me than the $19. It's that could be $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, depends on what the campaign is. And so I flipped the model on its head and I left the landing page exactly the same, but just changed the bottom to a free download of the book or a free copy of the book. All I had to do was pay $9 for shipping. And so instead of getting 2% conversion rates of people buying the book, I was getting now 40 to 42% of people taking a free download of the book. And that's a lot more appealing to me because it's 20 times the number of people coming into the list. And then so on the thank you page, then I make an offer for a consultation or a strategy session. And from there, I'll get probably 8% of people take that up. And so that's a much better funnel for me because at the end of the day, you've got to sell a lot of books at $20 to pay for one single client. So I'd rather have a bigger distribution of the books and a lot more consulting clients.
Yeah, and do you feel that when people download the book, they get to know you and that keeps them top of mind to maybe come back for additional consulting later?
Definitely, yeah. I really like when people get the physical book because there's something different about people having the book on their desk or on their shelf compared to a PDF. I think a PDF, I wouldn't even know half of the books I've got on my Kindle. And, it's just not the same as having that physical book on the table. So, whenever possible, I try and get people to get the physical book. But, still the PDF's still a great book and everyone loves it. I find that as soon as it gets into people's hands, they're really happy with it. And there's a lot higher chance that we'll do business together. So writing the book's been the best thing I've ever done for my business.
I found it really interesting. I'm working on my second book right now, and I'm about to really go through the process of getting it on Amazon and so forth. And it really is a lead generation tool for me. Of course, it tells a little bit of my story, and people get to know me. But in the end, it is a lead generation tool. Even though we want to get our message out there, but if people are reluctant to buy it, maybe not as many people will actually take it. So that's an interesting spin on marketing your book by flipping the funnel that way.
Yeah, definitely. And what I even do in the autoresponder, I ask people to send back a reply saying that they've received the book and to let me know what their biggest marketing challenge is right now. And so that's even more personal and it's even less obtrusive way of getting in touch with your clients. And I find a lot of people just hit reply and just say, yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, this is what I'm struggling with right now. And then that opens up a conversation from there.
Yeah, and you're gathering all that qualitative data, so maybe you can figure out what potentially what blog posts to write or what to talk about, maybe to talk about it in your next book. All those different aspects of what's people's challenges at that time.
Definitely, yeah. So when I first started asking that question, I got within about a week, I had about 350 responses. And so what I did was to categorize those responses, and I found they kind of fell into three main buckets. And so right now I've just released a Feed a Starving Crowd training course, and it actually serves each one of those 3 buckets because, based on the data, what people's challenges were. And that's why it's been quite successful so far. So yeah, that data of knowing like what people's challenges are, even though everyone says this all the time, but actually doing it and then, feeding them back what they've asked for. That's kind of the whole reason. That's the whole premise behind my book, Feed a Starving Crowd. It's like, what do people want, and kind of give it to them.
Very cool. Yeah, and the book goes into easy and inexpensive marketing solutions. Why don't you give us a couple of examples of that? We can use the example of launching a book. How would you maybe market the book and do some easy or free solutions to really promote that book?
Yeah, so in the book, there's 227 strategies and 174 cost no money. And the reason why I did that was because, like, when I did my research to find out what my starving crowd was, I looked at the top 100 marketing books, and I found that one of the biggest frustrations people had was that all the advice in the books cost a lot of money to implement. And then things like conversion rate optimization, and things like that. It's like, well, if you're just starting a new business or you want to launch a new book with no budget, like, that's not going to help you. You've got no traffic to begin with, and even if you did, you wouldn't have a budget to do testing like that. So so some of the strategies are, like 3/4 of the strategies in the book cost no money to implement. As an example, like if you're launching a new book, what I've done for the last 3 book launches that I've performed is to form a book launch team. So what that is it's a core group of people who are, they get a pre-release copy of the book, and they, I normally invite them, give them a free ticket to a live event that I'm hosting, because that doesn't cost me any money. Like, I'm already running the event anyway, and just to have some more people in the room doesn't, is no extra cost to me. And so what you do is, in return for getting a free copy of the book and a ticket to your event, they need to put a testimonial on Amazon, and they need to get the word out about your book to their audience. And so the 3 times I've done this, the first time I had 100 people that put up their hand to say they want to be on the book launch team. The second time I had 250 people, and the third time I got 137 people.
Wow!
So it's pretty big numbers, and it's pretty much like getting free. If you think about it this way, it's like getting free affiliates.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're going to their audience and they're saying, hey, you should get this book from Rob. And to get access to that many people's audiences is quite phenomenal.
Yeah, and they agreed to maybe email out their list, or what's the details of they decided to do for you?
Everyone was different, so I wasn't too choosy. Like, as long as people supported it in any shape, way, or form, right, I accepted that. Obviously, email is the best, to get the highest conversion rates. But some people would just post it on their Facebook wall, and that's still good. Like I had one Australian TV celebrity who posted on their Facebook wall, and they've got 180,000 fans, and they've got me 1,000 downloads in 24 hours. So, I'll take that every day of the week.
That's very cool. Yeah, I know in my launch plan is definitely getting on other people's podcasts, partnering with people in my mastermind groups, determining who's launching a book in the next couple of months, seeing how I can help that, get some reciprocity. And in your book, you go into some details of how to get targeted traffic for really inexpensive, and then how to spy on your competitors' ads. Can you share some of those tactics that you have in the book?
Yeah, definitely. So some real targeted. So what happens is, you get traffic to your site all the time, and what I found is that using retargeting in a smart way can get you very inexpensive traffic, because if you just retarget people that come to your homepage, for example, well, that could be anyone. But if you retarget someone that's gone to your sales page but didn't buy, like just that very small target group of people, it's not going to cost you a whole lot of money to advertise to them, but they're very targeted because they've actually looked at your offer and bounced off for some reason. So that's one of the ways you can get the most targeted traffic for the lowest amount of money. I've also been very successful in using like these news kind of sites, like the Outbrains and the Tabulas and things like that, where it's content discovery. So like sending people to an article, even if it's just Facebook ads, but sending people to content rather than sending people straight to your squeeze page or your sales page, that results in far lower cost per click. And they're still very targeted because they're interested in what you're offering. So as an example, I did this for a real estate client. We got 387 people to convert to say that they want to come to one of his seminars. and that was just through straight content. Send them to an article, and then after the article, then they go to the landing page. So that's that's something that works very well as well in this market.
Very cool stuff. And you go into even some of the, as you mentioned in promoting your book, you talk about different pricing strategies and on how to maximize profit and revenue, and then some psychological marketing tactics to actually create scarcity and a frenzy of buyers to your product. Can you briefly just talk about some of those tactics?
Yeah, look, there's a few things. One example was when I went to my local supermarket. And I've got 2 young kids, and so when my youngest one was before he was 1 year old, I used to buy him baby formula. So the milk formula that you scoop and you put water in it, and it's the milk for the kids. And so one day they had this sign up saying limit 4 tins per person. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's some short supply, and I want to make sure that my kid's got my kid won't survive if he hasn't got formula. So I'm going to get my 4. Normally I'd buy 1 tin at a time, but I got 4 tins. And then so I've got the 4 tins just to make sure I got my supply before they ran out. And I went home, and as I was driving home, I thought, these guys, this is a marketing trick. These guys took me for a ride here.
There you go.
And so I did some more research into it, and it turns out there was some university researchers that did scientific study into what kind of offers make people want to buy more. And so they went to a lot of supermarkets, and they found that when you put a limit and you put a number, so if you say limit 4 per person or limit 3 per person, that astronomically increases the conversion rates. And so, even as a marketer, I got sucked in by the supermarket's marketing strategy. And so, there is actually scientific evidence to say, if you put a limit on how much people can buy, and you specify, you can only buy 3 of these, or you can only buy 2 of these, or one, that actually significantly increases conversion rates. So that's a really good tip. And even if you're not a supermarket, if you're if you're selling a mastermind coaching group or something, if you say, look, there's only 5 people that's going to be in this group, and that's it. Once we've got 5, we're closed off.
Right.
And so just having that scarcity really makes people want to act very quickly.
Yeah.
But the caveat of that is that it must be real scarcity. If you say, I'm only taking 5 in the mastermind group, and you take 100, well, you might get away with it the first time, but then once that happens, the next time you make an offer, people know that you're talking shit, and that's not good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've seen that definitely a few times, and then it works the same way if you are launching a program, and this is the date that the day ends, so you need to get in before we actually turn that off. So that plays into the psychology of that scarcity aspect.
Definitely. You can close the cart and say the program's over. So with digital products, it's a bit harder. So the only really way to do it with digital products is you have to actually just turn off access. So close the cart. For example, my ebook, I can't say there's only 10 ebooks, because people aren't stupid. They know that it's a PDF, and they can get that whenever they want to get that. So I could to build more scarcity around that. I could say, look, the ebook's free for the next 24 hours. Then after that, it's $30.
Yeah.
So that's how you can do that with electronic products. Have time-based scarcity.
Very cool. And so going forward, now you're doing consulting with different companies to help them with their own marketing strategies in this way. Can you give us maybe some example of the type of projects that you work on, and maybe the tactics that you're applying to those projects?
Yeah, some of my bigger clients are in the real estate space. So I do a lot for real estate investors. I get a lot of people to come to live event seminars, and then the real estate, the property developer, gives them some education about how to invest in real estate, and then normally makes an offer at the end of that. So that's one funnel that works extremely well for me. I've put 40,000 people into live seminars in the last 18 months.
Wow.
And another strategy that works really well is in the health market. So I've done a lot of work in health and nutrition. And one of my clients is one of the world's top nutritionists, and she's based right here in Australia. And so with that, we've ran some webinars, and one of the webinars I ran in the nutrition market almost broke the world record for the most number of people to come to a webinar. So that was pretty huge.
Is that GoToMeeting, or?
Problem was, there was so many people on the webinar that 5 minutes after the webinar started, it crashed the webinar platform, and then once that webinar platform crashed, then they all came to the website to see what was going on, and then the website crashed. and then they went to Facebook, and they couldn't crash Facebook. They tried to, but so Facebook was able to handle all the support requests. And but that was a good experience. Like, it was hard at the time. Don't get me wrong. We had 7,991 people registered to come to the webinar.
Wow.
At the time that it crashed, there's about 80% of people that showed up that we could see. So it was a very high attendance rate, and but yeah, it just died. Like, it was the platform just couldn't handle that many people on a webinar at the same time.
Or was it GoToMeeting or something like that? Or
sorry, I missed that. Was
it GoToMeeting?
No, it's a different platform. Yeah. So I don't want to name and shame because they're good people, but it didn't help us on the day.
And what was the webinar about to get 7,000 people there?
So it was essentially. So my client had been seeing like patients one-on-one for 7 years. And so I said, look, tell me the top 10 health challenges that women have that you're able to solve. And so essentially this webinar was promising a solution to those top 10 health challenges. Yeah, so it was quite interesting. Like, working in the women's health market, I learned a lot more about the women's body than I ever really needed to know, and that I ever really wanted to know. But there are some pretty bad challenges that they go through. There's some quite significant health concerns, and I think it's a lot easier for us men. Our bodies are a lot simpler. So but yeah. So essentially, this webinar was, hey, look, here's 10 health challenges that most women are facing. If you're suffering from any of these conditions, make sure you come with this webinar, and we're going to show you exactly how to fix them.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting demographic. I worked at a diet and fitness website for 11 years, so I knew a lot more about women dieting than I really ever needed to know. But it helped me really target the most competitive industry there is out there, the most competitive, but probably the most passionate. Because especially now doing a lot of e-commerce, you quickly realize that people don't buy on logic; they buy on emotion, and there's some triggers that happens in their life to get them to sign up for that webinar, or get them to buy those health and fitness products. And once you tap into those triggers, then you can really identify with that audience.
Absolutely. Like, if you think about it logically, like, if you've got a health condition, like if you're physically sick or physically injured, you're going to be a lot more starving to get that fixed up, rather than me or you selling the latest marketing traffic tip or something like that. It's just because the nature of the nature of that problem is so much more intense. Because it's if you're not feeling good about yourself, or if you're feeling sick, you'll be a lot more passionate to get that fixed up, and that's why you can get those big numbers in the health market. Whereas, like, if me or you ran a webinar about how to get more people to come to your website, you're just not going to get that same velocity of intensity. It's just, but also people looking to fix up health, like, they're going to pay a lot less to fix that up. They might pay $100 or $200 to solve that challenge. But in the marketing space, you can charge a lot more, because if you're helping people make more money, then they're happy to pay you a lot more to do that, rather than to pay to fix up their health. It's quite weird, but it's just the way, this is the psychology of people, how it all works. So yeah, in that market, it's more about more volume but lower price points. And in business and marketing and real estate markets, it's more about lower volumes but higher price points.
Right. So let's dial into the name even more, because we just talked about it right there. But feed a starving crowd. So you're doing some surveys to figure out what people want. But let's go a little bit deeper. How do you know what to write for your next book? How did you figure out what to put into the Feed a Starving Crowd book? So forth.
Yeah, this is good. So this can work whether you're doing a blog post or writing a book or a special report or a training course. You can use this strategy. It's called the Amazon 3-star strategy. And so what you do is you go to your category on Amazon, you look at the top 100 books in your category, and then you look at the 3-star reviews and all the complaints about that category. So I'll make it more tangible. So for marketing, which is my category, I looked at the top 100 marketing books, and I said, okay, what are people complaining about with these books? So, like I said before, one of the things was that the information wasn't tailored to the small guys just getting started. A lot of it assumed that you already had a list and you already had traffic and how to optimize what you already had. So a lot of my stuff is geared that even if you haven't got a list or you haven't got any traffic or you haven't got a product, you can use these strategies and still get results. So that was one of them. The other thing that people hated and drove them crazy was that a lot of the information out there was just generic. It was too general. So they would say, start a Facebook page, or start a blog, or engage with people on social media. And it's like, if you start a new blog, what the hell do you write on there?
Yeah.
How are you going to turn a blog into money anyway? Even if people do read what you've got in there, like, it just doesn't. Telling someone to start a blog and to write stuff on there, that's horrible advice. So, like, my book's got none of that stuff. It's all very specific. It's like, hey, here's the campaign I ran. Here's the copy that we used. Here's why it worked, and here's how you can use it for your business. Like, my stuff's all very specific and proven that's worked in the marketplace.
Very cool.
So there's examples like that. The other thing that people said was a lot of the information in the books you could get for free by just searching Google. So nothing worse than paying $30 for a book, and then you could have gone to Google and got the same info for free. So like there was a lot of concerns like that I found that were very common. And so what I did, I wrote down the top 8. And so as I was writing Feed a Starving Crowd, every time I put a new chapter in, I checked it against those 8 complaints. Like, was this stuff that wasn't available in the general marketplace? Was it specific? Could a small person execute this without having to spend a lot of money or any money? And so that's why the book's been successful, because I physically went in there, spent an hour, read all the reviews, wrote down all the common complaints, and then wrote my book around those complaints.
That's absolutely a great strategy, and it helps you even figure out the marketing strategy of it. You basically, people are telling you what they're complaining about, so you reverse that around and give them what they want, and now that's actually your marketing taglines, your ad copy, and so forth. Definitely.
And then so I also tested the name of the book. So I had 5 different titles that I thought could work. And I just ran Facebook ads. I spent $20 on each one, and I saw which one got the best click-through rates. And so Feed a Starving Crowd won, which is really good.
Very cool. Yeah, it's definitely catchy. It really it's a little bit controversial, but it's it makes you think, oh, what is that? Feed a starving crowd. They're starving. What's there for me?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what level we are in our career, we're still all trying to always get more, and I think your book really addresses a lot of that stuff. Well, cool. Let's tell people a little bit about you, how they can find out about you more, and maybe share your Twitter.
Yeah, sure. So you can just search Robert Coorey on Twitter to connect with me there. Any of your listeners can get a free copy of the book at feedastarvingcrowd.com. So it's everybody loves it. Like, it's just It took me a long time to write it, but I made sure that I wrote it so that even beginners or experts will still get a lot of value out of the book, and they're able to implement and execute a lot of the strategies. So yeah, just go to feedastarvingcrowd.com and you can pick up a free copy.
Excellent. To close out, what would be one thing that you tell optimizers to do, if they're getting started or they're in the middle of their careers, to really take their business and their marketing to that next level?
It's really about focusing on the funnel. So if you've got a funnel that converts, then you can be confident to send a lot of traffic to that funnel, whether it's paid, free traffic, through the different methods in the book, or even, using affiliates and joint ventures to get traffic into that. But once you know that you've got, if someone goes to this page, they will convert, then from there it gets a lot easier. So really working on that funnel and making sure that funnel converts is huge.
Thanks a lot for your time, Robert.
Thank you.
Learn to improve conversions and generate more leads with the video podcast at marketingoptimization.tv.